Hello and welcome to the AfterBurners podcast. I'm your host, Samuel Oney, and this is episode 10. 10 episodes of the AfterBurners podcast. I'm here with Wes Spearman and Henry Buxton. Lads, how are we today?
Feeling good. Feeling
Yeah,
good.
I'm good. Bit tired after cricket weekend, but yeah, all good.
This is an F1 podcast.
I know.
Wes. Leave cricket out of it.
Yes.
for at least 40 minutes a day. Stop talking about cricket.
Right, so let's get into it. Shall we? So we've got a lot to get through with Portugal, with the review, and the upcoming Spanish Grand Prix this weekend. But we start in Portugal, in Portimao. Lewis Hamilton, win number 97. Great performance again, lads. What do we think? I mean, he started second place, staying second, and it was great, wasn't it? Wes, let me get your thoughts.
Yeah, another solid drive from from the world champion. I mean, I haven't been able to watch too much of it. I think, well, I've had the highlights on my tablet whilst doing some work, and I wasn't really paying much attention to it. The race actually wasn't that exciting compared to the previous two we've had. We have been sort of blessed, I suppose, with two great races to start the season off, and then this was a little bit less dramatic. But I mean, Hamilton was P2. Did he start? I think he dropped down into third at one point. But the move, was it around for Bottas around turn one, or Verstappen around turn one? It seemed like that was the corner for overtakes. I saw quite a few overtakes happening at turn one, round the outside as well. Quick corner as well. To get those moves done, it's just, I don't think you'll see many other drivers going round the outside of a fast corner like that to get an overtake done for the race lead as well. And it just shows what an exceptional driver he is. 97 wins, closing in on that 100, which I'm sure we'll get this season. Will it be in the next 3 races? Who knows? Potentially. But with Monaco coming up, I think Red Bull will perhaps, excuse me, fight back a little bit there.
I must correct you there. It's not Monaco, it's Spain this weekend.
It's Spain next week, but it's Monaco in a few weeks. Maybe I'm getting confused with the the Formula E. But yeah, I mean, he'll get that 100 sooner rather than later, I'm sure. And another absolutely exceptional drive.
It'll be this season. It'll be this season. 100%.
Definitely this season. Yeah.
Henry, let me get your thoughts. How would you sum up Lewis Hamilton's race?
Lewis Hamilton's race, yeah, it's more convincing than last week. Yeah, he's just an all-round great driver, isn't he? I mean, he always shows it. He goes out there, performs there week in, week out normally, unless he has, there's normally a car failure, but he just shows that he has that determination. And he passed both. He overtook both Bottas and Verstappen during the race. So it just shows that he's just such a, driven driver, if that's even a term you can use. He's so driven to, get to that top spot. So yeah, I mean, other than that, talking about the race, I know Wes started talking about the race. The last two have been pretty good, and this one was a bit of a letdown, really, because I remember last season's Portimao race was really good. It was quite uneventful, really, this one. I mean, I remember last year there was something at the start of the race, Crofty was saying something along the lines of it had the most singular overtakes of any other race last season. It was like 58 overtakes in the whole race on the track, and it is a brilliant looking track and it looks amazing. Like, it's an absolute roller coaster. But the fact that we didn't get quite an eventful race was quite a shame, really. But I mean, it was topped all off when about 3/4 of the way through, we saw a good 10-minute chunk of them filming Latifi and Mick Schumacher's battle in 17th and 18th. So that just typifies the whole nature of that race, really. It was quite. But didn't really go anywhere. Much didn't really happen. I mean, the only sort of drama that really happened was, I mean, I know Raikkonen's little incident with his own teammate, but other than that, it was Max Verstappen's race, fastest lap being cancelled out. So, and that was after the race even. So yeah, I mean, it's a shame it wasn't as eventful, but you do have those sort of races in F1, and it's fair enough. Hamver bot as well, which doesn't help because it's not just a random person
The
on the
usual
podium.
three.
But
The usual story.
but yeah, I mean, it was okay. It's a race at the end of the day. We all love watching F1 races, no matter what happens. So yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it was good, but it could have been a lot better.
yeah. And speaking of battles, we have Max Verstappen who finished second. A rather disappointing weekend for him. Because he was quite slow in qualifying and started third on the grid, overtook Hamilton on the first lap, then got re-overtaken by the British man, and he finishes second. But then there was track limits because of coming out of turn 14. Yeah, turn 14, all four wheels are off the track, hence time being deleted.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair enough. From what I've seen, all four wheels were off the track, similar to Hamilton in Bahrain. So this time Verstappen actually got penalised for it. But another thing that I think I saw with track limits is when Hamilton overtook, I think it was Verstappen, around turn 3, just completing the move at turn 3. Yeah, it looked like he pushed him off the track a little bit, but I mean, it's from an F1 point of view, it's just racing, isn't it?
He was on the
It's just
racing
hard.
line.
It's just hard racing, yeah. But yeah, it's completely fair enough that Verstappen's time got deleted. Extra point to Bottas as well. Sort of nabbing that fastest lap the previous lap 65. Gives him a bit of a boost, I suppose. So he pitted with 2-3 laps to go, put on the soft, try and get that fastest lap, and he's got it. Whether he'll play a part in the championship battle, whether he can find like a battle for the championship with Hamilton and Verstappen, I doubt it. But if he can get his act together, because he had a poor race, Bottas, on pole and then finished third. Whereas, I mean, you said Verstappen had a disappointing weekend, but he started third and made up a place. Went to second. It'll be disappointing not to win it, but he got an extra, however many points. Is it 2 points the difference between second and third? I can't remember now.
Last week, at the end of last week, it was 1 point, and now it's 6 points. I think
6 points, I think.
Yeah, so it's
6
still
points now.
it's still an incredibly small gap. I mean, just one race can flip that because the winner gets 25 points, second place gets, is it 20 points?
18,
Off
is
the
it?
top of my head, or is it 18?
I think it's 18.
I
Yeah.
can't remember. So yeah,
I
literally,
mean, it might have changed. I
one.
don't know.
So yeah, one race. If Verstappen wins the next race, Hamilton comes second, and without the fastest lap, then Verstappen could go top again by 1 point. That's how close this season is so far, and it is Spain. Verstappen won his maiden race in the Red Bull.
Yeah.
Whether he'll do that again, sort of completely different circumstances. But I'd like to see Red Bull come fighting back a little bit better in Spain compared to this weekend.
Yeah, you were talking a bit there about Valtteri Bottas, saying that Max Verstappen had a poor race, but yeah, Bottas went from pole to third, and I mean, it's a podium at the end of the day, but also I don't think at the moment he will be challenging for that title fight. He might even be in a scrap with Lando Norris and Sergio Perez for that third place in the championship. I think if he finishes third in the championship, he's had a relatively successful season. But yeah, I mean, he is known as Mr. Saturday, isn't he? He's known as that, and he often does, finish on start on pole or second because he is in a quick car. But then as the race goes on, he gets overtaken by Hamilton or Verstappen, whoever is in that third position. And he's a consistent driver. He consistently finishes, obviously, on the podium. I mean, they're saying something now that Ham for Bot is one of the most common podiums in any order of all time now, because it's just so consistent. So for that to happen, Bottas has to be on the podium all the time as well. So yeah, I think that Bottas did have a disappointing race. He had a great Saturday, like he's known for. But yeah, I think that the pull away from Hamilton and Verstappen is going to start happening soon. And hopefully for us, like sort of like neutrals, but even F1 fans in general, we want that to stay as close as possible for as long as possible. You know, every other race Hamilton wins, every other race Verstappen wins, and you know who gets the fastest lap, who gets second. If anyone drops down to third, that's massive because then you've got that extra point advantage. So yeah, we as F1 fans, we want to see that sort of. We do want to see that battle between Verstappen and Hamilton. And I think if anybody does get in the way, like Norris or like Bottas, we almost go in, oh no, don't do this, because we want to see it between the two current best drivers on the grid in two of the best cars on the grid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. And it was quite an entertaining, as though there were like not some drivers had some bad disappointments for Verstappen, but it was quite good for before we move on, it was quite good for McLaren. McLaren as well had a good race. Lando Norris finishing in top 6, I think he did.
P5 he finished.
P5, yeah. And also his teammate, Daniel Ricciardo. Remember in qualifying, he got knocked out of qualifying, ended up starting P16, almost at the back
I
of the
thought that
grid.
was actually going to work in my favour as well, because I predicted him as last week as driver of the day, and when he qualified in Q3, I was like, oh, if he makes up some places here and gets in, you know, the top 6, you might have a
And
chance at driver of the day here. But he did, obviously, unfortunately, didn't get it. But yeah, I was a bit. I was thinking, oh, I could get some points here on the board for our predictions, but no.
yeah,
Yeah, but it's McLaren's. Yeah, McLaren still had a good race, and they are the third best team on the grid, I believe, and I think they'll solidify that place in that in the constructors as like the third team at the moment, because until next year's specs when they all change, I think that they will be, you know, the third place team.
and also I wanna give out a small shout out to Esteban Ocon. I think he had a good race as well. There was a little battle with Lando Norris, but the McLaren car was a bit too
Yeah,
quick for him.
we haven't seen enough of Alpine, I think, this season yet. I think that they're starting to get into their groove a bit. I saw. I mean, Alonso was in top 10
Yeah,
this
he had a good
race,
race.
wasn't he? He had a good race as well. So I think they're both just sort of getting used to sort of the. I mean, I know it's Renault from last year, but I think they're just both starting to get used to this new car and a little bit different drive wise. So yeah, I think that Ocon and Alonso are both obviously great drivers. I know. You know, I mean, when Ocon was at Racing Point, he was brilliant as well. So yeah, I think they're both great drivers, and we just haven't seen enough from Alpine yet. And I think as the season progresses, we will see enough, but I don't think they'll challenge McLaren.
So the Spanish GP is coming up this weekend. Race number 4.
Boring.
I want to take you back. I want to take you back to last year's race. Of course, the man again, Lewis Hamilton, won the race. He got on pole as well. And in case you don't know, he's won Spanish Grand Prix 5 times. 5 times. But also a young Canadian by the name of Lance Stroll, who was driving for then Racing Points, now Aston Martin. He finished 4th after qualifying 5th in last year's race. Now, the question I want to pose here is, Lance Stroll and Aston Martin, do you think they will, well, get their act together as a car and drivers as well?
Not yet. No, they had another poor weekend. Was it P13 and 14 for Stroll and Vettel? I mean, they seemed so good last year. I mean, Perez won in a Racing Point, for example, in Sakhir. And then this year, it's just gone the whole, not one step back, it's gone 2 steps backwards. They're just so slow compared to where they were last year. And then letting teams like AlphaTauri, Alpine, they're sort of at the front of the midfield now, whereas Aston Martin, they're right at the back with the likes of Alfa Romeo, which if you ask me that at the start of the season, you say, well, Aston Martin, they could be pushing for that 3rd or 4th, depending on how well Ferrari did. But they're just so poor at the moment. And whether they'll be able to do something about it, upgrade the car. I'm not sure if that's allowed this year. But I mean, they've got one class driver in Sebastian Vettel. We know how good he is. He's past his peak, but he is still a great driver. And Lance Stroll, who's proved himself the last year or two that he deserves to be in F1 on merit alone, not just because his dad owns the team. I mean, I'd like to see more points. Buxton disagreeing.
Yeah, carry on. I'll speak my piece in a minute.
Henry disagrees. Henry disagrees. Henry, state your case.
The Racing Point was a great car, and Perez is a great driver. So that's why Racing Point did so well. Stroll, on the other hand, is in a good car.
He got pole in Turkey.
Not brilliant. Because it was rain and there was circumstances and
it's still a midfield car.
I mean, I don't know because Stroll has never jumped out at me as one of these great drivers that you think future world champion if they're in a good car. I think you whack him in a Mercedes, I don't think he'd do that well. I mean, I think he'll do Bottas standard at best, maybe. I don't know, but
I don't think he's a future world champion, at least not for quite a number of years.
Yeah,
but he's a solid midfield driver. I think.
Yeah, but your midfield isn't good enough, is it? I mean, I was going to carry on with talking about Aston Martin and thinking, they should be that, third or fourth team along with the likes of McLaren, maybe AlphaTauri and even Alpine as well. That sort of, those four teams that are midfield and thinking, who's actually better. I mean, Alpine have also struggled with that, and I mean, AlphaTauri this season have had a bit of a backseat. They haven't sprung out as a team to look for. Gasly and Tsunoda have been quite reserved. I mean, the only thing I sort of remember Tsunoda doing was spinning out on straight after the yellow flag. I don't know whether it was last race or whatever, but I don't think any of them have sprung out at me. And the only team that's springing out at the moment for me is McLaren. Behind there. I mean, even Ferrari haven't really done much. I mean, look, I think this race, if anything, this race that's just gone in Portimao, Leclerc and Sainz had okay races. I think Leclerc has had the best race out of the three. This was his best race, but it's still obviously the cars aren't good enough. And I think you could even argue that AlphaTauri and Alpine are better than the Ferraris currently, but I mean, it's still, like I said, for the last two races, it's still early days. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I think we can all predict that it's going to be Verstappen or Hamilton winning the championship, but it's a matter of who comes in that midfield. And I think as they pull away, we'll start talking more about the midfield and going, who is actually the third best, the fourth best, the fifth best, who is actually, should be, is in that sort of bubble with Williams and Haas and Alfa Romeo. Who is that car that's only just above them, and who's the car that should be below McLaren and Mercedes and things like that. So, I think it's still early days. The racers are still getting used to their new cars, a lot of them, because some races, races have changed over cars and things like that. But I think, the next couple of races, we do need to see, Vettel and Stroll and Gasly stick their fingers out and just, start racing properly, because at the moment it's just not convincing.
Before we get on to the next thing, I've got a question. Is Williams as good or even better than Alfa Romeo at the moment? Because Alfa Romeo haven't done too well, but then Williams, especially Russell, has just been out driving his car week in, week out.
I rate Raikkonen. Well, Raikkonen's world champion. Obviously you're going to rate it. I quite rate Giovinazzi, and I rate Russell, but I don't think Latifi's a great driver. So it depends who you think of it. If you're talking Williams as in Russell, I think Williams are better than Alfa Romeo. But when you talk about Raikkonen and Giovinazzi, them I think they're better than Latifi. So it's sort of a weird thing. But yeah, no one's as bad as Haas. But I do think it is literally on their day who's better. I think qualifying wise, Williams, race wise, I don't know. It's whether it's the car or the driver, because I think both Alfa Romeo drivers are good, and Latifi, but George Russell is better, and Latifi is not as good, like I just said. So it's hard to decide that. I think it's a real 50-50 on their day as well. So yeah, I'm not sure. What do you think, Sam?
I mean, just before we move on, let me answer that. George Russell, he had a small amount of hype, especially in qualifying, because he was pretty good in Q3, getting into Q2 as well. Starting what 11th, 12th, I think, if you get knocked out of Q2. P11, yeah. So we've seen little glimpses of George Russell.
He was good in Q1, yeah. He was good in Q1.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I think it comes down to the drive as well. But if I had to pick between the two, slightly Williams, because on the driver's side, because Russell has impressed. Just before we get to the quiz, again, you two won't forgive me for this. Predictions. So, for Spain, my predictions were Hamilton, pole sitter, race winner, Lewis Hamilton, and driver of the day. Hopefully, he comes out of his shell,
Hamilton.
but no. I've gone for AlphaTauri's Pierre Gasly.
I haven't seen much of him this season.
We haven't, no. So, and I need points this weekend. So, Pierre Gasly, I'm kind of relying on you to, come out of your shell.
Yeah, I've got a point. A point. I somehow have a point from this weekend.
We've got 3 points from 3 weekends.
So, those are my predictions. Those are my predictions. And Wes, your predictions.
Yeah.
If you can still remember
I'm trying to find my tweet. I can't remember my driver of the day.
Well, I've got it here. You've gone for...
you've got it there. I've gone for Hamilton as pole and race winner, as per usual. I think I've gone Hamilton for every race so far. I can't remember. Who did I go for driver of the day?
Driver of the day was Ferrari's Carlos Sainz.
Yeah. Home driver, Spanish Grand Prix. He hasn't had the best start in Ferrari. He had an all right race in Bahrain, but the last couple of races he hasn't done. He hasn't set the world alight in that Ferrari. I know the Ferrari's not a good car at the moment, but hopefully we can see him. Well, just bounce back a little bit, back to his how well he performed with McLaren. Hopefully, get that car into the top 6, maybe top 4 potentially if he has a good race.
Did you hear the rumor that race that Nikita Mazepin actually won the driver of the day?
Yeah, I heard that.
And they had to
in Portimao.
In Portimao, because
Portimao.
it basically it wasn't actually, obviously he was rubbish. He was a minute behind his own teammate, but it was like a ploy because it was such a boring race. People were like, let's just vote for Mazepin as a joke, and I think he actually won it, but they gave it to Perez because I think he was like, so I don't know whether it's actually true, but I think it could be. I mean,
I've heard rumors. Yeah,
but Henry,
Henry,
who is your pole sitter? Who is your race winner, and who is your driver of the day for the Spanish Grand Prix?
You've both completely ignored the Flying Dutchman. I mean, Sam, I'm surprised.
Yeah, I'm
Sam.
surprised as well. Sam.
You've let me down. So I'm going to go for pole sitter, Max Verstappen. Race winner, Max Verstappen. Fastest lap, I'll go for, just in case those two don't work out, I'll go for Lewis Hamilton. A driver of the day. See, I think people love him. People love him. Sergio Perez. I think he always has a good race, and I think
back-to-back drivers of the day.
Yeah, I mean he won it. Didn't he win it?
He won it.
Yeah, he won it.
Yeah.
See, what I'm thinking is people love him, and he's always driving consistently. And if it's in an uneventful race like Spain normally is, they'll probably vote for somebody like Sergio Perez. So I'm going to go for Sergio Perez. So yeah, Verstappen will win it, pole and win it. Fastest lap, I'll go for Lewis Hamilton, just to hedge my bets a bit. And driver of the day, I'll go for Perez.
Yeah, fastest.
It's a lottery, but
yeah, fastest lap for me is definitely Lewis Hamilton. As for race winner, race winner.
And what have you gone for? Driver of the day.
I've gone for AlphaTauri's Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, it is a lottery, isn't it? It is a lottery, but
I think.
Good luck for this week, Sam. Good luck for this week.
Is it safe to say that I'm the one with a lot to lose this weekend?
The one
you've got
week where
you've got
you've
no
changed.
points so far, Sam.
Do you know what? The 1 week he changes from Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen to get all 4.
Yeah, he'll get
Max
win.
Verstappen to get all 4 and he'd be like,
He'll get
for
race
God's
win, driver of
sake.
the day, whole city.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for the predictions.
Before we move on, can we just talk about Perez quickly? 52 laps on a set of mediums. What is did Red Bull forget about him or something?
It is a curse seat. It is a curse seat, isn't it? I mean, I remember Albon for the last couple of seasons. They just sort of, they did also almost, he was like a little, just a collateral on the side, wasn't he? He wasn't really, because they were so focused on Max Verstappen that you just sort of like forgot he was
52
even part of the
laps,
team. So,
jeez.
I mean, if they're working fine, he probably would have said, "Oh, I need to come in. I need to come in." I mean, I'm pretty sure the pit crew are focusing on, doing the pits rather than what Verstappen's doing out on the track. So maybe he just felt that they were working quite well. But yeah, it's quite unheard of that. But fair enough. I mean, if he was feeling the tyres, I mean, what did he finish 4th in the end?
Yeah, he finished 4th.
Yeah,
Finished
so
4th.
that's probably why he got
was
driver of the
leading.
day.
He was leading at one point, first lead
What
laps
was
in a
he-
Red Bull.
But he wasn't there, was he? Because he hadn't pitted yet.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
hadn't pitted. And wasn't it Lewis Hamilton overtaking him, saying, "Oh, blue flags! I'm lapping him." No, you're racing for position.
I
Lewis.
remember that. Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
Perez.
Blue
He's
flag,
leading
blue
the
flag.
race.
He almost didn't realize he was first. Yeah.
But surely Hamilton would have realised that he'd passed the entire track before he passed him. So he would he did.
He's just so
only
used
passed half the pack.
to leading the race. They thought,
Yeah.
"Oh, what's this Red Bull doing?"
Blue flag. Wait,
Must be
no,
lapping him.
he's first. No, Hamilton, he is first. Oh, okay. Yeah, that was funny. That was funny.
Right. Who's ready for a little history lesson? A little pop quiz.
Oh
Go
dear.
for it.
Let's go.
This is horrendous. This is horrendous.
Right. So pop quiz is all to do with the Spanish Grand Prix. But we're gonna, as I said, history. We're going back. So the question is, 4 drivers in the past have each won the Spanish Grand Prix 3 times. Can you name them? Bonus
Lewis
point.
Hamilton.
Right, let me say this to make it easier. Bonus point if you can get the year. But to make this easier, these drivers are pre 2000. So we're talking about drivers between 1968 and the year 2000.
Okay. Do you want to
Prost.
take it in turns? Yeah.
Alan
What was that?
Prost.
Alan Prost?
Yeah.
Alan Prost, yes. 1988, 1990, and 1993.
Because Schumacher.
Schumacher's not on that list.
Might have been slightly, it might have been after 2000 where he dominated with far.
When was Senna?
Do you want
Senna's a
Anton
good shout,
Senna's not on that list?
Not on there.
No.
Lauda, Nicky Lauda.
Go for it. Yeah.
No. Do you want a clue?
Are these well-known drivers?
Can I have one guess and then you can give us a clue? Nigel Mansell.
Nigel Mansell. Yes.
Yeah.
Nigel Mansell. Can you guess the year?
Nelson Piquet.
No clue.
Right. So Nigel
Mansell.
Mansell.
Piquet. I remember the year Nelson Piquet.
Nigel Mansell, 1987, 1991, and 1992.
So we've got 2 of them. Is it 4 people?
Yeah, 4 people have won it.
And we've got Alan Prost and Nigel Mansell.
Yeah. Is Nelson Piquet there?
No.
No. Are they both world champions?
One, I don't know, but I think one
Damon
of them
Hill?
is.
Damon Hill?
Not Damon Hill.
No, I don't think so.
By nationality, they're both European.
That helps.
That narrows it down.
Of course. All right then, I'll give you one. One of those nationalities is the same as 2 of the drivers on this year's grid.
So not British.
It's either Canadian or Spanish.
No.
Or French.
Okay. Right. One of these drivers. So the 2 drivers, one is British and one is.
No.
Yeah, one is British and one is of the same nationality as 2 of the current drivers on this grid.
So one's British and the other one could be Finnish,
Spanish.
French, Spanish, Canadian.
Finnish?
Gilles Villeneuve?
Is there 2 Finnish drivers on the track?
Yeah, Bottas and Raikkonen.
Oh yeah.
Unless
Oh,
it's the third, I'm
obviously, of
missing
course.
somehow.
So is it Raikkonen then? Is it Raikkonen?
No, not pre 2000.
Raikkonen is not on this list.
Gilles Villeneuve.
Villeneuve is not on this list.
No.
Spanish.
Hang on, what? Who could the James Hunt?
No.
Could we have the
We're just going to be
years?
spitting names now.
Could we have the years? 'Cause
Right.
we're running out of
This
time.
this driver has this British driver has won it 3 times in 1968, 1970, and 1971.
Graham Hill.
No.
Jackie Stewart.
Yes. Jackie Stewart is the British
Got there in
driver
the
that
end.
won it in 1968, 70, and 71. Now, one
Who's
driver
this other
left.
driver?
One driver left.
Sam, do you even know who this driver is?
yeah, I do. I honestly
Is-
do. I know.
Is he Finnish?
He is Finnish.
He's Finnish.
Mika Hakkinen.
Hakkinen,
Good
yes.
Yeah.
Hakkinen, yes. Now,
Yeah. There we go. That's when he said Finnish. I was like,
There- yeah.
is there 2 Finnish drivers on the track? If there is, then it's Hakkinen.
right.
Yeah.
Mika Hakkinen. He done it 3 times in a row. Can you guess the year?
It would have been
97,
if it's before
98,
2000s. Yeah, it would have been something like that, wouldn't it?
Say that again.
97, 98, 99.
You've got one of them.
Oh.
1998, yes.
98,
So it would have been
98,
96.
99, 2000.
Correct.
3 times in a row.
Oh.
Correct. Mika Hakkinen, 98, 99,
So what are the
2000.
4? So just to confirm, the 4 drivers are Alan
The
Prost,
4 drivers
Nigel
are
Mansell,
Jackie Stewart,
Jackie Stewart,
Nigel Mansell, Alan Prost, Mika
and
Hakkinen.
Yeah. We got them in the end. We got them in
We got
the
there
end.
in the end.
5 minutes to spare on the scene. This is going to be a long podcast.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of episode 10 of the AfterBurners podcast. Next week is the Spanish Grand Prix, and also for Formula E fans, Monaco Prix is among us. So I have been your host, Samuel Oney. It's a goodbye from me. It's a goodbye from Wes.
Bye. I'll keep it simple this time.
I love that because saying goodbye because everybody knows what to do. You're like, oh, all right, goodbye.
And Henry Buxton.
I'll see you soon. Stay safe.